I'm going to try to make a really quick video on how I chart, and try to make it as simple as possible. And if we have any other questions, you can just kind of hit me up and we can talk about it a little bit deeper. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So we've got SPX here. Now I have this trend line that I drew from, again, the weekly chart from before, but this is just basically helping me identify a pattern that's been happening over these last year basically. Anytime pretty much it came up to this kind of trend line, it pretty much rejected it every single time. So that's what that is, in case you're wondering, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for basically support and resistance. So how do I draw these and how do I get good levels? So at its most basic level, what I try to do is look at where did, and maybe I'll just remove this for now just to make sure it doesn't get in the way or get confusing. I try to look for were there moments where a big move happened when it hit a particular price. So, for example, we got right here. This is actually a perfect example. So right around 4,100, right? So once, twice, and if we probably go to the left, right around here. That's a little close, but call it 4,100-ish. This is a pretty big level, right? This is, again, on a weekly chart. It came here twice and rejected. So if I was going to mark this on my chart, what I would do is, or my kind of strategy is, I'll kind of draw that line. And what I like to do is when it's resistance, color it red. And when it's a weekly chart, I like to make it 2px, so basically just bigger, and then a dashed line. So that way when I'm on lower time frames and I'm like, where is this level coming from? I know it's coming from a weekly chart. But what's important here is that around here, so 1, 2, call it, 3-ish, maybe 4-ish, with this candle, 5-ish, with this candle. This, and even if you keep going over here, this is a massive level. So 4,100-ish, 4,105-ish, whatever. So this is a pretty big interaction. Okay, and then on the downside, for support, I would do kind of the same thing. So I would look and say, okay, when was there a really big move or big jump or bounce, I should say, and does it coincide with any other candles? So I would look, left to right. So 1, 2, 3-ish. Okay, this looks pretty good. So I would go ahead and do the same thing. Go ahead and mark it. And I'm going to, instead of red, we'll go with green. Okay. So that's kind of my basic kind of charting for in general, but also from a weekly perspective. Again, this is going to help you when you're on lower time frames, so you don't get confused with all these other lines. Now you can have at it. You can mark this all up with all these weekly charts. Weekly lines and support and resistance. As much as you want. So like for instance, like we got one right here, and there's a wick over here that kind of supports that. So like I could mark that right now, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go into our daily chart and do some similar stuff. So let's zoom out here. So same exact thing. I'm going to look for when did something big happen, and does it have multiple times when that happens. So we have some resistance here. Okay, and if we kind of go to the left, there's some resistance there at that same general spot. Some resistance there at that same general spot. So this looks like a pretty decent level, and it's current because we just hit that. So when I'm on my daily chart, I go ahead and I'll mark that, right? So that's around 40.15-ish. And when it's on the daily chart, I go down to just the regular line and just a straight line. And again, that's resistance. So I would still color it red. So Now I have some daily resistance. Now I want to look for some daily support. So from a support perspective, we have a big bounce right there. It's pretty much the same here, right? So we rejected here, came down here, big move happened after that. And then if we go to the left, yeah, we got another one right here. So this general area right here is a pretty big support level. So we're going to go ahead and draw that. Let's go right around. So that's basically 3,900. So that makes sense. It's a kind of a psychological level. All right, so I draw that green. Good, we got that there. Okay, so now I have a weekly resistance, daily resistance, daily support, and weekly support that I've identified. And then I would keep kind of going down the time frame. So I would maybe go to the 4-hour chart and see what I can do here, see if it tells me anything else different. So 4-hour chart, right? So last time we came here, we got a pretty big move. So kind of close to the same thing, decent move. So this is a pretty, decent level. Call it 37, 15-ish. So I can go ahead and start marking that up and whatnot. But what I want to do is talk about what happens when this is, right? So remember I said green is support, right? This is daily support. So big move happened there that drove it up. Big move happened there that drove it up. But if we were on the downside, this was actually resistance. All right. So when we came from down here and we got up here, we got resistance here. We got resistance here and actually here as well. So how do I, kind of distinguish this? So what I do is actually would flip this from green to purple. And purple lets me know that this can be either or. It can be support if you are coming from, let's say, 4,000 and you were coming down. So 3,900 is support. But if we were under it and then it started having trouble getting through it, well, now this is resistance. So the three main colors that I usually have on my chart are red, again, for resistance, purple for kind of that in between where it could be support or resistance, and then green for support. All right, so this is again a 4-hour chart, but let's look at it on a 1 hour. Just kind of zoom these things out, right? So now let's see. So same thing, we would kind of work our way. When did a big move happen, right? So off this weekly level, we know that happened, but when did it stop? Okay, it stopped here. Does that coincide with anything to the left? Potentially. This is, kind of support and resistance, for here and here. So when it's close like this for me, so I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. When it's so this is 39.50. This is 39.38-ish. So what I would do at that point is actually draw a rectangle. So starting from here, I would go this way, go to the left, and then draw what I would call a zone. So I would go to, let me just drag this out. So I would go to the top of this resistance, and then knowing that this is technically a pretty big interaction right here, because even though it was support, it could be technically resistance. I actually create this kind of rectangle to let me know that, hey, when you start getting to this area, right, we're starting to get into some resistance or something may happen. So I would draw the square, change it to kind of red to let me know that this is resistance. Or in this case, because it's actually access support as well, I would actually change it to purple. Okay. And then I would kind of keep repeating this as I go down the line. So, even if we look at today, we drew that to the right. Again, it was support over here, but today when it broke through, pre-market, kind of went under, came up to it, interacted with it, and rejected it. Okay, cool. So now I know this zone is pretty valid, right? So let's go down to, let's say, the 30-minute. See if we get any different kind of pictures here. So from here, this is where I would maybe start drawing some of the intraday stuff. So, okay, today this was a support. There was support for it here recently. Okay, also pretty close to this big wick right here, and kind of this and this. So I would actually draw a little bit of a support zone, kind of right there, that covers here, roughly here, here, and here. So I would color that green. So as we approach this again, right now on a 30-minute chart, if we start getting to this kind of rectangle here, I know that there's a good chance of it bouncing. All right, so if I was in a short, let's say, this may be a time to pay attention to maybe manage my trade and tier out. Okay, look at it on a 15-minute chart. Okay, any major things here? Okay, so let's say we want to do a support and resistance zone here. So look, we got some resistance there, and there's also some resistance there. So we can do a zone from there to there that kind of covers that. Okay, great. Okay, so if you look at this now, we kind of have some really nice zones where we know that, hey, if it goes up to here, there's a good chance it's gonna reject. Okay, if you interact with the zone, good chance it's gonna reject. Come to this one, it's gonna hold. Come to this one, it's gonna reject. This one's a little bit of a wild card because this is kind of the no man's land, right? So it kind of ripped through it before, so I would kind of keep an eye on it. But right now, because of today, we interacted with it and it rejected, I would look at it more as resistance. We were trying to fill this gap from here to here, which I was banking on earlier, which it didn't look like it happened. So, and then if you want, in between your zones, if you see something that's relevant, so let's say, this really big wick, when it hit here, we got a big bounce, you can go ahead and keep that in mind. And when it's ones like that it's not like a major move, I use a white line and I use kind of a dashed line just to remember it, right? Because look, it bounced here, it also bounced here, and then there was a little bit of resistance right here. So up to you. You can do whatever color coding system. I can technically make that a purple line because since it was resistance here and support here and support here, could do that. And then just to really drive this home, again, if I went on like the 5-minute chart, you can kind of do the same thing here, right? So now I'm just looking at this kind of 5-minute chart. You can kind of apply the same kind of logic here. So, for instance, let's say I'm going to draw some zones here. So I got some resistance here. Okay, well, let me go ahead and start drawing a rectangle for that. And then as I go to the right, I just look for where did it bounce. So it bounced here, here, and here. Okay, so we're going to call that a zone. Okay, and we will, for now, make that, again, make it whatever color you want, but I'm going to use purple. So now this lets me know, okay, that anytime we're here, something is going to happen. So it's either going to bounce, break through, but now this is a bit of a wall. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not the perfect system, I would say, as far as like remembering all these different zones. Because if you look, if I zoom out, I'm on the 5-minute, right? And this rectangle is super little. If I went back to the 1 hour, right, like doesn't mean much, as I kind of zoom out. You can't really see it that much, but the idea is to just explain kind of the thought process behind it. Ideally, you kind of mark up some of the most relevant stuff, from the last few days, the last week or so, and keep it kind of clean. So that way you don't have too much in front of you, because too many levels can, kind of confuse you, get in your way. But hopefully that was helpful. And if you've got any questions, obviously just let me know. All right, we'll see you soon.